Well, hello everybody. Well, this is a last minute video, but unfortunately it's not maritime related, but the good news is it is other history related, but I know he has been on the history YouTube channel before, but I definitely had to invite him back. So, Mason, welcome back to the channel.
Hi, Says. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, we missed you because with your Doctor Who video last time, it was really good for us to talk about all the historical events and especially with maritime as well. But when I thought about doing this video, because it is a very special day, and yeah, this is a really exciting time. So, Mason, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name's Mason. Last time I was on here, as says, I was talking about Doctor Who and like I think it was like we were talking about the Titanic. I think with like the history upon that, and how history that can be. But today I'm here like to talk about like Crohn's because it's IBD day. So when Says asked me to come on and talk about it, I'm more than happy to talk about it because I'll talk about Crohn's to anyone.
And also, IBD Day is very important to you because it's something that wasn't really understood as much, but because it's getting more recognized, it's something that is it's something to talk about and be open about because I know that even though through your own experiences, Mason, it I always found it really interesting to see how you live through Crohn's, especially on your social media platforms, because you always talk about the things that happen, how you going through them, how do they make you feel, and that's kind of like the same thing, just to talk about and be open with that, especially if there isn't understanding in the past, then in the present day we can understand from this.
Yeah, it is very interesting because like I guess people who follow me have very mixed followers. I guess like we're doing work doing different things, maybe autism and mental health. So maybe even Doctor Who now. But yeah, it is interesting because that was probably one of the reasons I started doing an Instagram account years ago in 2020 because um I didn't really know many people had Crohn's as well. So when I was diagnosed, knew nothing about it and knew no one else who had it as well. So I thought it was because you get those diseases, don't you, out there where only a few people in the world have it. And I thought it was that kind of thing because they said it was rare. And then you there's a whole different like community. Like you have IBD Day, which is a day every year that celebrates people have Crohn's and IBD, ulcerative colitis and inflammatory bowel disease, which IBD stands for. So it's very interesting. It's very busy. A lot of people are on that day. I don't see anything else. About people talking about raising awareness. I always tend to share the same image I do every year, because it just highlights what Crohn's is to people that are not. It's not visible to everyone. Really. So yeah, it's a good time of year. It's like a celebration, I guess, but it's also good to educate people.
Absolutely, especially from everything that's gone on in the past. I know that we wanted to do this video because just not only talk about your experiences, but also something interesting came up that was something to do with history. So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail. So one day I came across a video that was related to Crohn's disease, and that video consisted of Prince Albert. So I'm going to leave the video link in the description, and it talks about Prince Albert and his connection with Crohn's. Now, for those who don't know, Prince Albert is the consort of Queen Victoria, and he and her were married for such a long time, but he always had lots of health problems. And when he died in his 40s, early 40s, it was a devastating blow, and historians often wondered if it was case because there was mixture of porphyria, flu, and stress, that sort of thing. But then Crohn's disease actually came up to light, and there was some evidence that historians have used to actually explain what kind of symptoms that they had and are they relatable to Crohn's. And talking about this, Mason, because I know that living with Crohn's, you know the signs and symptoms of what happens and how does it make you feel. So it's interesting just to have a little open discussion about it, because I know through your experience, Mason, you really wanted to share your thoughts on what happens to you as well as what a person could go through in that time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because when you told me, it was new to me because you're more about I guess you're more, you'll know more about history than me. So it is good that so I learned something new when you told me. I didn't know Prince Albert could have it or did have it or
Mm.
yeah. But the thing is with Crohn's, you see, is it's very difficult when people get diagnosed because everyone's different. And people may not want to get seen. There are people out there. There will be people out there who maybe take a lot of risks with maybe certain things. But yeah, I guess in my experiences, I lost a lot of weight when that year I was diagnosed with Crohn's in 2017, and I was clueless why. At first, I thought, why am I losing so much weight? And then I couldn't eat certain things. Near enough anything because of the pain. It was abdominal pain. So the whole process of what Crohn's is, like there's different types for everybody who has it. In my case, it's called patchy pans, and what that means is it basically means is I have the worst form of Crohn's you can have really. But in my eyes, I'm quite lucky with that. I haven't had probably the worst thing in the world, maybe to other people who maybe have surgery or certain things, operations, which comes up a lot, and it's something that a lot of people may worry about. But through that, I couldn't eat. I felt bloated, so every time I was eating, I was full, and it was almost like I had a meal anyway. And then I got put on these milkshakes. Well, not I shouldn't have called them milkshakes. These drinks you drink if you can't eat anything, like protein shakes and stuff. And I didn't like them either, so I was never winning whatever happened. And then I went to hospital and I went in A&E, which I always say now it shouldn't be the case here. Like people have a chronic illness should not be going in A&E wards, because what happened was I was maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in so much pain. I had a hot water bottle to try and ease it and try and think of other things, and I couldn't do that. So go to hospital at 2 a.m. I'm still there and like 6 a.m. or 7 o'clock in the morning to get seen. And then they tell me to go home. My diagnosis was actually pretty hard to actually get listened to because they said, well, I'm not going to see you in like maybe like 6 months or something like that. And I said, I probably won't be here. The pain I'm in, it's awful. I wouldn't want to experience that again or other people to. And then they listened. You find in life, you'll find if you moan more to people, regardless if they like it or not, it'll stick in their head and they'll hopefully listen to you. But yeah, and then I had a colonoscopy, which is basically a procedure where you can have both in one go like I did, or you can have one each. And I just wanted to get over and done with, so I had a tube down my throat, had to open up my mouth. So it wasn't a nice feeling. Like I was gagging, and I said, "Oh, get out, get out!" And then, and then you have one down your back passage for basically all this is the camera. So it has a camera just looking in your insides, and yeah, that's how I was diagnosed. And then during the process of that procedure, I heard the consultant who was doing it say, "You got Crohn's disease." I go out, I say, "I've got Crohn's disease" to my mum, and then they don't, no one knows what it is. I was like. And then they come out and say, "You got Crohn's." I said, I told you I've got Crohn's. No idea what it is, but I've got Crohn's. So that's how I got diagnosed. But lots of people can get misdiagnosed. I could have if it's really hard to get diagnosed with something that people can't see and what it is for anyone who is here and they've never heard of Crohn's before. So basically, a good description of what it is basically where your body is attacking itself. It's almost like it can feel like you have fire inside, and it could, and sometimes with the abdominal pain, in my experience, especially, it feels like I'm getting stabbed, and it will always be. There's a saying, people don't get it till they get it, and what that means is if you don't have Crohn's, you don't understand the pain that it can have, but it still affects people in your life. So say if your friend had Crohn's or your family member had Crohn's, it will still affect you, because there might be certain instances where you have to be careful. So everyone's different, like with medication, with how risky it can be for people as well. So yeah, that is a little description of kind of what Crohn's is, and maybe how I got diagnosed.
That must have been really horrific to go through that, Mason. And like speaking from your own experiences and the amount of luckiness that you have to get medication for Crohn's as well, because back in the Victorian times, they would never have something like that, and they often get misdiagnosed for anything. And Prince Albert, in like a few cases, was that certain case for things like Crohn's and all of that. So when I was actually researching him, it's the same symptoms that you described, Mason, and I'm wondering if he had the same diagnosis of Crohn's that you had. And
Mhm.
because listening about it, it makes sense because it all adds up. And from what I understand, some people, if they don't have the right treatment, especially for Crohn's, fatality happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it like some people like to take risks as well. So no one likes going to the hospital if you have Crohn's or not. I think all of us don't want to go to hospital at all. I went the other day. I had a blood test. My arms and bruises. It was quite funny because I went with my mum, and my mum had one too, and she had about 10 bottles, and I had two, I think. And then I'm out like a gun. Wasn't that bad. It was a new person that I came across. I never seen this person before. I had a conversation. And yeah, and then my arm's bruised and it aches a little bit still. But yeah, So the fact we don't like going to hospitals, but I always say better to, if someone even little, if you find someone's little, so for example, I don't know, a little symptom, let's say, um, maybe you're feeling a bit different or something, it's always better to get it checked sooner rather than later, because it would just get worse, and you may just want to hold off. But it could be all good doing that, but it's in the long run, it's not going to be good for your health.
In terms of having Crohn's, like what you have now, how difficult is that really? Do you find it, is it an everyday struggle, or is it like a struggle that happens just that comes out of the blue? Or what does it, and how does it make you feel?
When I got diagnosed, I was like, I'm not very happy about it. Like saying you got a disease, and you can't do anything about it. So like they can't do anything. So yeah, the only thing they could do is put you on. I was on steroids, which no one likes to go on steroids. But it actually helps with the pain. That's first, and then you go on these different medications. The annoying thing is when a medication that you've been on maybe a long time stops, you think the worst, because it's very hard to get a good medication that people stay on. Like you've got people out there with Crohn's, they've gone so many medications and they don't work. And I've been on the one, I've had a fair few years now, so it's okay. But what comes along with being on medication is the risks. So for me, the amount I take is what cancer patients take. So I take medication that cancer patients take, which puts you at a huge risk of catching anything, not just COVID. Even before COVID, it's a risk to catch anything. So say if say someone sneezes in a room, like, it's not good, and like the amount of people spread germs that you see, that I kind of analyze it sometimes. So if I'm seeing people start a burger van, for example, like amount of people not washing their hands while touching, putting ketchup on it, and that you just see how germs spread. And yeah, that like day to day, it's different. So you could wake up in the morning and be really tired. Like for me, I am a night owl, so I will go to bed very late sometimes if I don't have to be up in the morning. And then I'll be alive at night. But sometimes I'll go. So say I'll go have a sleep in the day because of my fatigue, getting really tired. Um, but yeah, but the massive thing that people don't understand is that like people will say it's a disease that you go to the toilet for, and it's a disease that food triggers symptoms. But that is true, but it's not just that. People say it's a toilet condition, which it is. It is like you may have to use the toilet, you may have to avoid foods. But I don't believe on like I don't believe in these like oil kind of medicines and stuff like that, and like foods and like those kinds of. I don't believe in that. But within these two, they are two. It's like a lesson or something. They are two parts of what Crohn's is. So Crohn's does affect probably your top of your body to the bottom. That's how much it affects. And food is one in your mouth, and toilet is down your bum if you can use that. Because you'll find a lot of people with Crohn's will have stomach bags, which I don't have, and a lot of people when you find out what Crohn's is, surgery and stomach bag are probably the two things that you first hear about it. And yeah, there are two things. So there are more. It can affect your eyes, it can affect your gums, it can affect your teeth, it can affect your bones. You can get other things because of Crohn's as well. So there's so much effect.
And I can imagine as well, would chills actually affect Crohn's? Like if you say that if you catch something from the cold air in the winter or something like that?
Yeah, I guess like with the winter, it's especially. I won't go out as much and meet people because it's a season of colds. And people catch up more in those months. But yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because that also leads to another point. Because I know that Prince Albert, he had like lots of colds, coughs, chills, and 2 weeks before he died, he actually got a chill from the rain. And it's kind of interesting to see how things can actually like mix and match with each other, and the body finds it too overwhelming to actually take in some of like the processes and all of that. And I guess that because of the weakness in the body and it can't fight off diseases, when someone has Crohn's, it puts them at a higher risk.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it will put you at a higher risk. So, um, like with like the escalators, in shops, they are the most contaminated things probably ever. And the only time I'll be touching that, if I don't know, I have a thing about escalators because when I was younger, I fell off one. I fell down them, and I laugh about it now. It was so funny. I laugh about it because everyone moves out the way. I'm falling down. Everyone's moving out the way. If you could stay still, I could stop, not hurt myself even more. So, but now this certain place is not there anymore. And now whenever I go down escalators, I'm scared. Like I don't. The reason I'm scared is because I don't like holding on to them. I'd rather balance myself, so I'm just standing on them. But if I'm wearing long trousers, I don't want to trip. If I don't want to be next to close to people as well. So yeah, they are one of the things that are very contaminating, and yeah. So I went to an event when I did my speech for when it was Autism Month. I did a speech somewhere, and then of course after I say, if you want any questions, come and see me. Come ask me questions, and then people come up and they say nice to meet you, then they put their hand up for a handshake. And then I will say I don't do that because I don't want to do that. I don't know where your hands have been. Like it's one of the most contaminating things I'd say as well. Like if you're thinking it in a health thing, and then I did. There were fair few people that understand, but there was someone who didn't. So you don't want to make people feel bad because of your health, and it is very risky. Going to seeing people, going to events. Um, it's hard to say it to people who don't understand or anything about it now. But yeah, that's how it can be like sometimes.
And then I can imagine though it feels like overwhelming because it can either make you feel stressed at times or it can make you feel upset. And it's just like going through your head, it's all of mixed emotions.
Yeah,
And it's really interesting to see because this all fits together with what people can actually think when it comes to Prince Albert. And I think all of this, the way you explained it, Mason, the pieces actually fit together. And I think I'm really into, just based it on your own experiences, I feel that this makes absolute sense of like what could have happened. And basically, modern medicine, you are really lucky because there would be no other treatment, would say back like 100 or 200 years ago, you would never get treatment like that. But now with medicine, you're lucky because you get all the things that you need and you also get the support as well. And basically in the past, nothing like this ever happens.
yeah. It it, it is good that we have the medicine and like we have an NHS system where we don't have to actually pay for the medication, which is unfortunate in other countries where they actually have to pay for their treatment that they take, and it's crazy how much they are very expensive, these medications as well. So like when I think next year the medication I'm on, I'm due to run out. So like you have this kind of window of how many years that's there, and then when it stops, I think I'm gonna have a colonoscopy to see if I need to stay on it or not. If I'm in if I'm okay to maybe come off medication for a little bit, so I'll see how I do.
With all of that you explained it, do you feel that with Crohn's, do you find that you got the support that you needed?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't say straight away because when I was diagnosed, I was just sent to the dietitian. They sent me to the dietitian. Or in other words, a person that you can manage when like what you eat and what you can't. And we didn't see her again, and I gave me a leaflet when I. So you'll see that a lot of people like I probably know about it more now. There's more out there, but when there wasn't a massive support there, um, really. But there is support there, but not. I would say there would be improvements. I'd say maybe. But yeah, when I was diagnosed, it was you can go home now. Send you a leaflet. And then you can go home. Not the best, but yeah, now it's a bit better. You actually probably a lot of people have Crohn's will research it themselves, and it's better to understand it yourself better than maybe a doctor or a consultant, so you know what you're talking about, really.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And you've come a like well, it's not just you, Mason, but things have come a long, long way since beforehand, really. And like I said before, you are so lucky to have like loads of support, really, because people in Victorian times, and especially Prince Albert, they would never have anything like that because they wouldn't understand medicine back then. And they people like with medicine in previous times, they always did really weird stuff. And all of it I won't go into because some of them are really weird. But if you ever want to look at that medicine, check out Horrible Histories. Looking at all of this, Mason, do you think that Prince Albert might have the same symptoms as you or different, or you're not really too sure at the moment?
It could be Crohn's, but it could also be colitis because there's Crohn's and colitis are two different things. So colitis affects around the colon, but with Crohn's it affects with every, like, I think from top to bottom. But I've actually I think I got a bit of both. So I've got Crohn's and colitis. So really, but yeah, like stress is the trigger for pain for Crohn's. It can be, if you're in a flare. But yeah, he could have it. Um, I guess we'll probably never know, because he's not here. Um, but yeah, he might have it. Like I always like it when well-known people have Crohn's. It's not nice for me to say it, but I like it because of the recognition they can bring. Um, like you've got Dynamo that has Crohn's. You've got Sacha Dhawan, who played the Master in Doctor Who. He's got Crohn's, and he's an ambassador for Crohn's and Colitis UK. And you've got Amy Dowden from Strictly. He's got Crohn's. A footballer called Darren Fletcher. He's played for Man United. He don't anymore, retired. He's got colitis, and then you've got various other people that have it. So it's getting more known to these people, and people do documentaries about it. So yeah, like some people would listen. You may not know. You may know those people. You may not. You probably do know Dynamo. He's probably one of the most people that you probably do know. And yeah, you have. It's good when you have. I like it when people who are well known that have Crohn's.
But it's always good to have like people who are out there, and then the more people that you have or listen to that have Crohn's or colitis, then it's great because it feels like it's getting more understood, it's more out there, and I think the more support and the more people who talk about them, the better, really, because we get a full understanding of what it can be like and how people would feel about when it comes to listening to the terms or having Crohn's or colitis themselves. And yeah, I think you're right there, Mason, because there is a point that we'll never know about what Prince Albert had, but with things like this, but talking about Crohn's and colitis in the present, it definitely makes a huge amount of difference, especially with the acceptance and the awareness of it, because it is very, very important at the end of the day.
Definitely is. Yeah. It is definitely important. And Sacha Dhawan, he's one that he only said about it not long ago, maybe the year after, maybe he was in Doctor Who, or maybe that current year, because it was very interesting to hear about his story. And yeah, because I would love to meet him one day. But it's good that you get that. They're not going to talk about it, of course, in Doctor Who that he has Crohn's, but it's almost like it's good that he was a good role in that show. But I think it's hard when you're a celebrity when you talk about something maybe very serious, because the amount of people that will see it maybe will see you in a different way. Almost like maybe a lot of us feel at the start that people don't want to see you in a different way, that they want to see you're okay. But when you speak about it, you do feel much better because you've got other people out there who have similar maybe symptoms to you, or maybe to take the same medication as you, or they want to talk about it, because the questions you get asked, there are certain topics that are very personal within Crohn's, but there's certain topics that aren't. So there's so much you can talk about within it. But yeah, like I say, we're never going to know if Albert did have it, but I guess it's good to talk about it with the symptoms. If you're saying that's very similar to mine, there's a good possibility that could have it.
Yeah, that's definitely the case though. But Mason, it was wonderful to talk to you once again, and thank you for coming on. It was absolute pleasure, and we definitely have to have you on again at some point, because I know that you got more knowledge to share, lots of stories to tell, and I definitely think that it will be really good to have you back on again. And yeah, so it was really great talking to you, Mason. Thank you.
Thanks, Ez.
And until then, everybody, I'll catch you in the next video. Take care. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe for future videos. Until next time, this has been History Inside a Nutshell, departing from the dogs. Thank you so much for all of your support, and enjoy the rest of your voyage.